All right, Bobby. I love to have you here. I'm really excited to talk to you, and let's get into it. So, Bobby, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, where you're from, um, just anything?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, obviously, we go way back to St. Benedict's, but, before that, I grew up in a small town called Parsippany, New Jersey. It's North Jersey, suburbs and stuff. So I kind of always played soccer my entire life. My father, my uncle, my cousin, they're all goalkeepers. Goalkeepers kind of ran in the family. And, I was always what I wanted to do, even as a little kid. I was always taller as everyone, so played a little basketball, but I always just knew like soccer and being a goalkeeper was my calling. So then I went to high school. I decided to attend St. Benedict's, and for me that was probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life. It was definitely crazy because I left my little suburban neighborhood to go to Newark, New Jersey, which is just completely different scene, and through a school where I was very much the minority, and I got to experience not only a whole different amount of cultures, but to be able to really get to feel what it's like to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so that was at a young age. I think that was really great for me. But then from St. Benedict's, I've kind of it's hard to really keep track of me because I bounce around a lot. But I went on to play Division One soccer for 2.5 years at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Ended up transferring after my junior year to Monmouth University, where I graduated from. And then with a redshirt year still eligible, I went to Mount St. Mary's, a small D1 out of Maryland. And from there, 5-year career, I went to South Carolina for a little USL2 action with a team called South Carolina United Bantams. And then from there, I just uprooted left, went over to Northern Ireland, played for a club, Portadown FC, and then was there for about 7 months. It was fantastic. And then most recently, I've moved back to the States, and I'm now in Cincinnati. I play for FC Cincinnati. So it's been a wild ride for sure, but I love it. It's definitely the dream.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your upbringing in terms of footy. When you were growing up, were you always the best player around? Were you always the best goalkeeper? What made it click for you?
Yeah, I mean that's for sure, absolutely not. I mean I was gifted a good frame. I've always been a big guy, which has helped me in goal. But I was never ever the showstopper keeper. There was always a lot of talented kids that I played with, um, and it really, honestly, even at St. Benedict's, I kind of just showed up at St. Benedict's and they didn't even really know I was going, and then I showed up and said I want to play for the team, and they saw a little something in me, but I was honestly big dude, but big the other way too.
Yeah.
So the head coach there, Jimmy, obviously Jimmy, he took me under his wing and just kind of changed my entire life. So got me fit, got me into where I needed to be, and then it's just been slow and steady progress. I've really always concentrated on never judging myself to those around me, but only really focusing on who I am at this moment and if I am better than I was yesterday. Because as soon as you get caught up in focusing on other people, you're just getting kind of sucked into this rat race where
Yeah.
there's always going to be someone that's better. That's the reality of it. It's very rare for you to be the best in the world. You just need to kind of take care of your business and focus on being better than you were yesterday. And from there, I just kind of developed slowly. And goalkeeping, it's unique. It's not like a field player. Our careers can last a little bit longer, just given the nature of the position. So, you will mostly find late bloomers more often than goalkeepers, and that's kind of what I think it was. It didn't really click for me until maybe into college. I was always a good goalkeeper at St.
Yeah.
Benedict's, but even then, my only goal was just to play varsity. I had to be the starter there, which some people probably wouldn't have seen really ever being a reality for me when I was young. And then from there, it was just be a Division One player, and carry about my business there, and just kind of keep climbing the ladder. And that's kind of where it's been. It's just been slow, steady progress.
Yeah, one of the things that really impressed me was your transformation, dude, from like the beginning of what when we came into the overnight. So for people that don't know, the overnight is where we go there for about 7 days, and we just get the full record of the school. So we get to figure it out. We get to meet everybody, and we just bond through 7 days of just a lot of different experiences. Let's put it that way. It's great.
That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I look back fondly of is watching you grow from that goalkeeper freshman year and then into a B senior year. Physically, you look so much better. And then as I started keeping track of you throughout your college career, I was like, holy shit, this kid is great. Like you can see I saw you work with like Williams Sports Training and stuff like that for strength. And I was like, yo, this is what impresses me. The fact that you were not number one recruit, like nothing, but you still got to where you got, and you just never gave up. You didn't take no. You kept going, and that to me was impressive, dude. Honestly, and I tell you all the time, like I love you. I love you. Like I love everything about you in terms of of who you are, and I think it's super important. Mostly with kids growing up now, a lot of them believe like, oh, I don't play academy, I'm never gonna make it, and you're like a prime example of like, dude, you can play academy, sure, but that's not going to be the reason why you make it.
For sure, 100%. I mean, like, obviously, the feeling's mutual. I love you to death, Marcus. And I think a lot of the development and all that happened. I spoke with Clint Casso a couple weeks ago, who obviously is another Benedict's guy.
Yeah.
But just about St. Benedict's, I genuinely feel I would not be where I am today had it not been for St. Benedict's. Because at a young age, you're 14 years old walking through the door. And you're a kid who thinks you know it all, and it's very quickly to have them give you a dose of reality to kind of bring you back down, and they give it to you straight. A lot of coaches don't really want to be able to tell you the hard things, to tell you of why you're not succeeding. And Jimmy, listen, they told me straight up what the deal was. There was never any question, or I didn't feel like I didn't know what was on their minds. They made it very clear where I needed to develop, and then really just humble you. To understand that it's not necessarily anything about you being the best, but necessarily about how you are going to improve and how you're going to be better. Because the old saying that we'd always have is you never want to stop and enjoy the view, and that's something that I've carried with my whole entire life. The same saying, the only easy day was yesterday. It's the Benedict's kind of motto. And just going from there, for sure, I agree. I never played academy. I actually was never one of those stellar kids, and obviously the whole academy system's changed since then. But there's been so many, just false narratives, and it's a whole bigger problem with just American soccer and the youth development of a lot of parents and players are told that this is the only way, when that's just not true. It's an important thing to realize. I was just lucky enough to be in an environment at a really young age to kind of get a solid foundation of where I wanted to, grow from that. And having those values instilled in you then, kind of really, that's a good base. I see a lot of unbelievably talented players who are young that far, far better than I ever was, but, they kind of lose touch with reality because they're constantly being told you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. And then all of a sudden they're not the best anymore because they've kind of stopped and enjoyed the view. So for sure, I definitely think that Benedict's is, the key piece of where I am today.
Yeah. So tell me about uprooting from Jersey, from South Carolina, from the States, and going Northern Ireland. Tell me that. Tell me how that went. I got to know.
Yeah, it was insanity, man. Honestly, it's been good. I think there's been a whole lot of trends in my life about going to new places, new environments, and then just trying to, figure out how to fit in and be able to adapt. From Benedict's to all these different teams that I've been on, you're always the same no matter where you go. The opportunity just kind of came around. I just finished up my 5th year and then went down to South Carolina for USL2 season, and was doing really well. I was lucky to have a really fantastic staff organization behind me there in South Carolina, but the season was kind of coming towards a close. And obviously I was looking for options past that, and the MLS and all those USL were still in mid-season. And to be honest, at first it wasn't very appealing for me to want to stay here. I didn't really necessarily want to go to a USL team and then this and that, because I kind of see a trend of, especially with goalkeepers, they tend to get lost in the USL. I've seen a lot of really talented goalkeepers that try to break out in the league, but it gets hard, and then they don't get their opportunity and this and that, and then before they know it, it's kind of they get forced out. And for me, I looked at it not necessarily as me wanting to achieve success in the soccer field, but rather to have an experience beyond soccer. I mean, when I got to go there, it wasn't just to play soccer. Obviously, I was, that was the key piece, but I wanted something more than that. I wanted to experience a new culture. I wanted to see parts of the world that I would have never seen before. So the offer came in, and it was, it was an easy decision, to be honest. I knew nothing really about the country. I knew nothing really about the club, but I got there and it was fantastic. I've made some of the closest friends, that have kind of become brothers to me, and we went on to achieve remarkable things in the season. It was still getting ironed out, but I believe hopefully soon there will be good news that we were in the second division, so I think we'll be announced as winners, or we'll get promoted, which was kind of the goal of the entire season, which is a really special thing, especially to, devote all your time and energy into this one singular goal, and then having that pay off. It's a pretty rewarding feeling. But yeah, man, the country itself was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was a really beautiful country with a lot of intense history. There was a lot of troubling times there from the 70s into the early 90s. It was a dangerous place, to be honest. Belfast was where I lived. And it was like a war zone through the 70s. It was like a civil war. But now it's changed dramatically. It's a beautiful place. So, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about not only the sport, but just, myself as a person. And hands down, that along with, Benedict's is probably one of the best decisions I've made.
That's incredible. How did you get there? Did you have an agent? Do you have an agent currently?
Yeah, I have an agent currently, but it wasn't my agent. It was actually a coach from back home.
Okay.
I think, John Plogic.
Yeah.
He had a couple links. And, I mean, honestly, it's a weird thing because, when you're young going through it, you have no idea how it works. And to be honest, I'm a pro now. I still really don't know how it works. It's just networking. And so, one guy knows another guy who happens to know the manager, and they've kind of gotten a review on me, and things happen. But, that's a little more of a luck side. You just have to be prepared for that and get ready to take it. So the opportunity came in through those connections. And like I said, it was a pretty easy decision. I talked to the managers once, and, they had told me everything about the contract, told me about what they were trying to achieve, and I was sold. It was a very easy selling point. Yeah, it was a very exciting time. I think that there's also a certain fondness for any professional player for their first club.
Right.
It's a club that takes a chance on you when you're not really anything. You don't have any necessarily accolades of any high caliber professional level, and they risk the opportunity to have you on. So for me, definitely Portadown's got a very special place in my heart. But it was, it was incredible for sure.
Yeah, I can remember you were on newspapers. You were doing everything, man. I was like, this kid's making it big over there.
Oh, there were so many wild things, but I just couldn't believe like things were happening. Because I'll never forget that day. It was Match of the Day, which is like the local paper there. And to see myself there, I must have bought like 10 copies, to be honest. I definitely hold those as special moments. But, it wasn't necessarily – it's a weird thing because, it's the same Benedict's philosophy. I don't really take credit for things. You know what I mean? Like, I had a fantastic team who did so much, and I was just lucky enough to be in a good spot that set me up for success. And then I got to reap the success when in reality it wasn't me that had done anything in particular. It was obviously a combination of players who had been working extremely hard. But yeah, that was one of the points where I said, wow, this is really actually turning into something.
Now walk me through a day. Like walk me through right now or in the past, what does a day look like for Bobby?
Yeah, well, I mean, well, I guess I'll give you a little bit of both because right now it's a little interesting with obviously COVID and everything. We're a little
Right.
altered and stuff, but well, Northern Ireland, it was just it would depend on what day it was. Usually, if it was a training day, we would go in, get our training done. The reality is, as a professional soccer player, you have a lot of free time because you usually are at the facility for anywhere between 3 to 4 hours total, with like 2 hours of training, sometimes two and a half, depending on whether you got gym and stuff. But then the rest of your day, you kind of are on your own, which comes with a lot of responsibility as well. You can't just be doing nothing. You have to be able to be active. And over there, I would train and then help work at like an academy for goalkeepers that was run through the league, which was incredible. I mean, coaching is definitely, obviously, a passion both of us have because whenever I do hang up my boots, I see myself taking a career down a coaching path. I've invested too much in the sport to just one day
Yeah.
kind of walk away. But yeah, I get to work with some really young, talented keepers. And here, it's pretty similar. Obviously, we're getting way closer to what normal is. But we're usually up and out the door by 7:30 to the facility, breakfast, into our rehab or whatever treatment we need, into whether we have some meetings in the morning. We'll usually have some sort of breakdown on whatever tactical stuff we want to do beforehand we go out, and then obviously we're training. It's a weird thing because once you get to a professional club, it all of a sudden does somewhat become much easier in the way that you have a lot more people who are doing the harder parts for you, right? So I'm spoiled because I get to have my meals, taken care of for me. My nutrition is good because I have people doing that. When something hurts my body, there's people to take care of that. It's easier to just focus on what I have to do on the pitch rather than having to worry about all these external factors. But now in the current setup I'm in, since he's been amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful facility. They take care of you, and in turn, you're really able to kind of just go out and perform and focus on that one goal.
Right. How was signing for Asmir Begovic? Talk to me about that. That is crazy.
Yeah, man. Like, these are things that all of a sudden, it just seemed to go from 0 to 100 in the span of a second. Obviously Asmir, he started his own brand, and for any listeners that don't know who Asmir is one of the most amazing goalkeepers who's had, played Chelsea, Bournemouth, AC Milan currently, like, unbelievable. But obviously as a kid, I'd always looked up to him for a lot of reasons. One, because he, like me, is a very big dude.
Oh yeah.
So I've always kind of made sure to idolize goalkeepers who are very similar to me. But he's another level. And when again, the links, that's all it is. It's about networking. My agent kind of knew the guy who was helping take this brand off, and they were interested in having me aboard. And that right there was surreal. So no brainer. Again,
Yeah.
Asma Begovic, they've been fantastic. I mean, they honestly, the gloves are, Asmir wears them himself. You know
Right.
they're good, but they've taken care of me well. But it's still crazy. Like, I obviously message with Asmir every once in a while, and man, I still pinch myself because it's like I can't believe that I'm talking to Asmir Begovic. It's been a surreal feeling, but it's cool also to see that as a kid, and just like you and me, when we look at pros, we've always kind of put them on this pedestal of stardom and iconic status, in which they are, but they're also people just like you and me. And Asmir is honestly just such a genuinely great person,
Yeah.
and obviously he is at the top of the top when we're talking in terms of soccer, and he's always checking in on me, seeing how things are, if there's anything he can help out with. And it's a weird thing to realize, like, oh right, these guys are people just like you and me. So it's been pretty amazing to have that relationship. So definitely enjoy the gloves I'm wearing. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. So you get down to Cincy, right? You get this meeting with Asmir Begovic. You signed with him. What is next? So tell me, in your mind, what do you want to do next?
Honestly, it's all about adapting and just continuing to develop. Like this is a good analogy that you would understand as well. Is you remember in preseason with St. Benedict's, Jimmy, the coach, would always ask us to write down what are our individual goals for the season.
Yeah.
Everyone would write them down, and then he'd ask us what it is, and he said, "All right, throw it in the trash. Like it doesn't matter. It's all that matters is team success and to continue to develop." So here, I don't have goals of being like I want to be the starter. I want to win the MLS Cup. I want to do all these things because all I'm focused on is just continue to develop, and my time will come for when it's due. As soon as you start worrying about too far down the line, you're going to trip and fall on the now.
Yeah.
As soon as I signed, my biggest thing that I wanted to do was just again adapt to the level. It's obviously another step up. Preseason was great for that. Obviously, the first couple of days, it's the nerves, it's overwhelming and everything. But then settling in and realizing, right, okay, I've been playing this sport my entire life. It's the same thing. We can do this. And then from there, obviously, to ensure that I'm providing good culture among the team, to be a good teammate, that I am equally positive influence on the field as I am off. That's a big thing Cincinnati really pride themselves on, which is, a big thing I've always kind of held true. But to strengthen the core, ideals of the group, especially within the goalkeeper union, to make sure that I'm keeping the sessions intense. I'm pushing Spencer and TT, the other two goalkeepers here, and getting the best out of them while they, help me because they've been fantastic mentors for me.
Yeah.
And you're talking about two of the goalkeepers who have done amazing things. I mean, TT played in the Euros. Spencer's been on the youth national team, all the residencies, done all the big dog stuff here in America. And to have them watch over me and help me has been fantastic. So, again, just, continuing to develop, adjust to the level, improve my weaknesses. And that's been a key thing, not hiding away from what I need to improve on rather than just focusing on what I'm good on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me your go-to or your favorite meal before a heavy day the next day. So I want to know, what do you eat?
That's a really good question, man, because it's interesting. I've now for like maybe a month and a half, 2 months, been vegan, interestingly enough, which is really the biggest driver behind that is my roommate Zico. He's been a vegan for a while now. And I would always cook like, good meals, rice, chicken, and vegetables, like, the standard meals.
Yeah.
And they were just boring, to be honest. And then I'd always see Zico cooking up a storm. He's making all these crazy things, and I'm just like, I should change it up. And definitely during quarantine, I was bored out of my mind, man.
Yeah.
Like, just so I had nothing to do besides work out, and I was like, all right, let's get into this. So I just started to kind of eat vegan,
and your mind just went, I'm bored, I'm gonna go have some vegan food.
Exactly, man. And like I was just like, let's see what's up. Like it got me something to do. I was getting into the cooking.
Yeah.
It's been good. I mean, most recently, I really enjoy. I've been soy-based stuff of tempeh, which is like a weird thing for me to say because had you asked me like 3 months ago if I'd ever be vegan, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
But it's just been. I mean, it just feels clean. I really enjoy. It's been another weird thing. Like you learn so much about your diet and what you need to succeed. Drinking a lot of water, but then obviously our meal-based stuff. So if we have a hard session tomorrow, I'm making sure I get good carbs and then a source of protein. And then they obviously have done phenomenal stuff. We also have supplements and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of key stuff. I definitely enjoy the vegetables as of late, which has been. I can't believe I'm saying that, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to say out loud and hear myself say it, but yeah, it's been good.
Good. So we got your food down. So you're a vegan. It's cool. I'm gonna stay meat eater over here. All right.
Sure. I think I'm a vegan like right now. I'm not necessarily attached to like. I don't think I'll do it for the rest of my life. At one point, especially like right now, we're not able to have our kitchen. We have to have our meals kind of like brought in. But like once our kitchen is back at the training facility, it's going to be hard to pass up those meals because the cooks there are good. But yeah, for right now, I'm eating vegan for sure. But go ahead.
So what do you do when you're nervous? Because I can only imagine being in front of a crowd or like that in that size, even if I don't play, I'm going to be shitting myself. What do you do? So take me through a process of how you deal with that.
Yeah, honestly, that's another great question because that's something I think, especially for me, I probably made the most progress on in terms of the mental side of the game as in the last 3 years of my career. Especially coming from St. Benedict's, which was a high pressure environment. It was weird because, you're getting this amazing training, but as a goalkeeper, there might have been only 2 games a season where you're really getting tested in terms of like actual play.
Oh yeah.
And those, I used to, especially in my freshman, sophomore year of college, I definitely would feel those nerves get to me. And that was something I kind of struggled with. I was like, I know I can do this. Why does it come time and all of a sudden I'm feeling like, questioning myself and all this stuff. And as you mature and get older, I listened to this podcast and they had Steve Clark on, who's, he's been in MLS for a while, amazing goalkeeper. And he talks about like what confidence is. And I honestly think, I'm going to just steal his words here, to be honest, but
Yeah.
like I can't say it any better than he said it. And confidence isn't feeling like Neuer or De Gea and feeling like you're the best. Confidence is expecting to succeed, right? So like there have been a lot of games, especially in Northern Ireland, where my warm-up wasn't great. I didn't feel necessarily sharp, but like I had the best, uh, ritual going into the game. But I was still confident because, you get further along in your career, you just expect to succeed. And once you hit that level of confidence, because you've done it so many times before, that's probably the most important aspect of goalkeeping in terms of the mental side. But the nerves are natural, and like that's another thing that I also really helped me in my career was later on. When I would feel myself getting nervous, I used to think, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I get so nervous about it? But then if you step back and just realize like that is a normal emotion to feel. It's not, you're not wrong for feeling that. And to kind of
Right.
step back and then just take a deep breath and remember that this is the same sport. That this is everything you've ever done. And usually even into the games that were still high pressure, you still feel it the first 10, 15 minutes. Hopefully, you have a solid 10, 15 minutes because the games where you're feeling nervous and the first thing you're doing is picking the ball out of your net, things
Yeah.
get a little ugly. But yeah, just to like remember and consciously step back and remind yourself that this is what you've been doing for a long time. And the better you prepare, the more confident you will be. That's always been the thing for me. So putting in the hours of work, training on the weak points to improve them have always been key things for me. With my feet, I never necessarily was always someone who was great with my feet as a kid because, I hid away from it. But then to put in the work and to get better with it and get comfortable with it, all of a sudden that nervousness kind of subsides because I prepared. And
Right.
to have that preparation will lead you to that, success of not feeling that pressure.
That I love that quote. Honestly, I think I'm gonna steal that. I think
Go for it.
that's probably the best way of saying it. That See, you learn something new every day.
Dude, you
Um,
always got to keep learning, man. That's the whole thing.
when so you obviously saw both sides, right? So um, growing up, you saw the American side, and now in your latter stages, you went elsewhere, overseas, and then now you're back here. Um, what do you see differently? Maybe not culturally, but in terms of like player wise, talent. What do you think? What can help us bridge the gap between us and a city or a country overseas?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question to talk about, in terms of soccer as a sport here, just in this country, and focusing only on this. From where the sport was when we were kids to where it
Yeah.
is today, it's changed so much. The MLS is as old as I am. I think it was formed in 1995, and to where it started to where it is now, you wouldn't think they were the same league. So there's obviously been like this love and passion that's been growing tremendously here in the States for the last couple of years. For
Since
us,
he's really good for that too.
yeah, I mean, and since you talk about a fan base, man, they are incredible. It's weird, like, as a third string goalkeeper, even now I'll be walking in the streets sometimes and like people will stop and be able to recognize me, which is just like, it takes me back.
Yeah.
But they're amazing. And to be honest, it's a weird thing. It's a process, and like anything that develops, it's easy to get frustrated when you don't see the results right away. And that is, people get disheartened, and obviously, missing like the last World Cup, that was a big blow for the States in terms of soccer development. But the talent is still emerging, and the talent is getting better and better. You see more and more players that are getting sent overseas that are doing well. The Pulisics, all these guys that are over there and succeeding. You didn't see that 10 years ago. You'd have the occasional Mosley goalkeepers, Tim
Yeah.
Howard, Alfredo, Casey Keller, these guys that would go over and do well. But it was much more rare to have a field player, succeeding at the top levels. And so as it grows, it's definitely taking steps in the right direction, even though there are the occasional, mishaps. But for youth development, I think the most important thing, and one of the things that most benefited me, was getting outside a certain style and experiencing other cultures, right? So, not to keep bringing Benedict's back up, but when you walked through the doors of Benedict's and played for that team, you had so many different countries represented.
Oh yeah.
So, like, a good example is the side volley, the technique of distribution with goalkeepers. I had no idea what that was until like my sophomore year of high school, and I saw Rocha from
Yeah.
Bolivia hitting these side volleys, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And to kind of get that experience and see these different flavors of the game at such a young age gives you such a better foundation. So, it's tough. You see this cycle of pay to play in youth soccer nowadays, which is frustrating and disheartening because it shouldn't be that way. But it's getting better. And I do think that the steps that are being made right now will continue to benefit the game. But it has to continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can't be satisfied with just these guys getting over there. At a certain point, what you want to see in this league is the really good talented here stays here. We're able to form a league that is good enough to compete against over there. Obviously, we're far away off from competing with the EPL, but like that would be the end goal.
Right.
So I think we're on a good path for sure. But that's my opinion of it.
So when you're walking through the academy grounds, let's say in Northern Ireland, for me, I see some of the kids that go through the academy here in the States, and they don't understand just how important it is that they have that chance in front of them. I also am privy to like back home in Portugal, like I know how those kids are. I know the mentality. So like it's kind of interesting to hear. Like personally in Ireland, I think there's probably a lot more hunger than there is here in the States. I'm not saying that there isn't any hunger at all, but I'm saying that if you go to Ireland, one of those kids, if you start messing around, they're gonna 2-foot you. And good luck.
That for sure, 100%. I mean, that was the great thing about the league too. It was good league for me to, especially dip my toes in the water because it was a rough physical league. Even the teams that weren't necessarily at the top of the table, they made up for what they lacked in their technical ability with just true brute strength. There was no easy game, and it was my first cross I ever went up for in the league. I went up to take it, and I just remember thinking, I'm gonna get rocked, and
Yeah.
I got rocked. But I held on to the ball, and it was a good learning thing quickly to be like, right, this is it. You sink or swim. And for the academy people, it's for sure. That's like one thing I harp on. It's like kids are so quick to only worry about comparing themselves to what's around them. When in reality, you are competing with everybody, right? Like that's the thing Father Ed would always say, you're competing against not just schools here, we're competing against everybody. And it's hard to see that when it's not physically in front of you, but that is the reality. There are only so many spots on a team. There's only so many players that can play for a team. And to continue to develop, it's not just good enough to be the best in the group. You've got to push yourself to be the best you can be because you're going to be competing at higher levels. It's this continuous chain. There is no necessarily end of it, right? You're trying to push yourself as high as you can go. So there will be players that will get that at a young age, and there will be players that don't. And I think one thing that the American system for youth players does do well is they do raise good professional athletes. Like they usually have good mindsets, and the work hard, dedication that make it. But there are a lot of ones that just get lost so quick and get caught up in being such a big name that they forget that how they got there.
Right.
Like got there through hard work. It's the same thing for me. Like I got here. I know how I got here. If I stop doing what I did to get here, I won't be here anymore. It's as
Right.
simple as
Listen, I'm sitting around and like I've gone through literally the whole friends list who we were with. Like when we were starting, we had Derek Etienne, you, Tyler. Like a lot of these kids, Teo. Like a lot of these kids are doing really well, and I sit here. I'm like, yo, these kids are hungry. You guys are working out every day, like some 2-3 times a day, and I'm sitting here like with you. I say it all the time. I'm a bit more vocal with you because I feel like that's the relationship I have with you. So I'm like, yo, I see it. I love you, but what? And then I wish I could tell like a lot of our other teammates, like, yo, you're a real big example. Like I guess that's why I started this, because I want to get you guys on here, talk about how important you guys are. Like to me, you guys are really important to the culture that's coming back. Like we're gonna start something great here. And I think you guys are incredibly important.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I definitely. Well, I don't take myself too seriously. You know that. I like
Yeah.
to think I'm a booster, but it's one of those things that it's just I've never been satisfied with being all right. You know what I mean? Like, and it's always been the thing of wanting more, wanting more. You want to achieve more. You need to push yourself, and like that was the thing. Like at Benedict's, being this little fat, out of shape kid at freshman year, they told me like, "Yo, you are out of shape. Like you need to get in shape. You ever want to play?" And that's like why I was doing those workouts, why I was working so hard to get there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and you see that progress because, dude, to 2 laps, 2 minutes. For the listeners, like that was the gauntlet of high school preseason.
Awful.
2 laps around the field in 2 minutes, then the second time in 1:50.
Yeah.
And that was one part of this whole circuit. It was just like you say those words, 2 laps, 2 minutes, and I still feel that my heart just sink.
Oh yeah, my legs still hurt.
Oh, for sure. And like, going from freshman year to I had to get dragged across the line and still not make it to then making it, in my senior year. It's
You were in my group.
Yeah.
You were right with us.
It was just, I was opening up my legs, man, and striding out, but it's that steady progress because I knew I had that goal. And, it's tough because, as a coach and as someone who's working with the youth players, you want to get that through to kids. And some kids just won't hear it, but they will learn it eventually. But the reality is they'll learn it when it's too late. And then it's too late to do anything about it. So for those who can't listen, will learn. I was just lucky enough to kind of have these people in my life that kept hammering these ideas in my head, even though every time Father Ed wanted to talk something, I was like, oh my God, here we go again. But like looking back, it's like, right, okay, maybe you were onto something there. And that's just kind of the reality. And to be in that environment of getting hammered every day, it did wonders for me because I've just taken those values with me through the rest of my career.
Good. Give me your most fondest memory right now. It could be footy, it could be anything.
Fondest memory. That's a tough one. I mean, in terms of, I've had a lot. I guess in terms of, I'll give you one on the pitch, and I'll give you kind of one outside the pitch. On the pitch, most recently, we were playing a team called Nuri away. We were playing Nuri away. They were in a division. They were a good team. They had actually just came down from the first division last year, and it was so cold, man. John was actually there, John Podgick, and it was a Friday night game. We played terrible the first half. Like, we were awful. We given away a penalty. We were down 1-0. We just couldn't keep possession of the ball. Like, things were just not going well for us. I remember thinking at halftime, like, I'd be happy to get out of here with a draw. Like, this is, we got into the halftime speech. Our manager ripped us because we deserved it. We were doing terribly. We came out, we started playing well again, and then we got back into the game 1-1, then figured out, and then got into 2-1, and then maybe in like the 78th minute they got an opportunity, did a little scissor on the side of the box, crossed it in back post, and the guy had a free header, and he pretty much had the whole side of the goal. And it's one of those things that happened so quick I didn't even realize what happened, but was able just to kind of get a big hand on it and push it out of the net, and we ended up winning that game 2-1. But the sweetest thing about that was that I was just getting abused the whole game from all the fans of the other team, which is just like normal. It doesn't really bother me at this point. But then you still hear it, and so as soon as that game ended, man, I just turned around and gave it to them all. To me, that was
the Maradona. You just leaned down and you gave him the finger.
Yeah, literally, I just gave him the old gladiator. Are you not entertained? Both arms in the air. Oh, and they were all very upset with me, but it was a special feeling. I'm off the field. I mean, there's been so many, obviously in terms of, seeing my success obviously mean more to my parents and to those things. But I think, most recently we had a game at Red Bull with Cincinnati before the season got shut down. And so I flew out and went home, and so I saw Jimmy, and I got to give Jimmy, a jersey, which was pretty special to me, just in terms of what Jimmy and what the school had meant to me, and to then have him have this piece of my career, and to know that would be important to him. It was just kind of like a full circle thing. So that was probably one of my fondest memories in terms of off the pitch. But yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. I've had a lot of amazing memories. A lot of memories also that have been rough, but have fueled me on, man. I still have that chip on my shoulder about our senior season not winning the national championship. But
we don't talk about those things. That was really bad.
Those things rigged, man. Rigged.
That was. I can vividly see the whole play happen from the goal kick from the goalkeeper, sending it 60 yards. The one time he does it,
I know,
and he clears Andy Martinez, the center back, and the striker's onto it.
Yeah, and it's such a quick play that happens so fast, and to be honest, it has really pushed me, because those memories of the times I failed and the times that things didn't work out have been what have pushed me to get better. I mean, that feeling, that probably that single game, I've had a lot of heartbreaks after that, but that one was oh man, I couldn't get out of bed the next day. You know what I mean? That feeling of failure, once you have a taste of that, you never want to experience that again. So it just pushed me, man. I still think about that to this day, and still have a chip on my shoulder. So yeah, I mean, that's been some of my best motivators, to be quite honest.
Yeah. All right. We did a good stint here. I would want to talk to you forever. Honestly, I think when you come back, we're gonna have a little get together. We'll. I don't know if I'll have vegan food for you, to be honest.
My time won't be a vegan, bro. Give me the food.
But let's set something up for when you come home, and then we'll get together. How's that sound?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. We gotta get the boys together, man. Again, like I said before, it just doesn't feel real how much time has passed. You know what I mean? It is crazy, because it just feels like yesterday we were all there together graduating, and then all of a sudden, dude, we're growing up, man. It's weird. Oh, yeah. My knees are hurting and stuff, bro. I don't know.
I hear you. I don't know why. It just happens.
All of a sudden, man, you hit your 20s and you just body wants to shut down, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. Tell people where they can find you. So socials, everything. If you have a company, anything you want to promote.
Absolutely. I mean, all my social media brands, they're all the same. It's at R Edwards GK, very unoriginal. Robert Edwards, goalkeeper. R Edwards GK. Only thing I want to promote is FC Cincinnati and AB1GK, my amazing glove band by Asmir Begovic. Very strongly recommend to check it out. But yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing time to talk with you, man. Really enjoyed this.
I love you, Bobby. I'm gonna hang up now, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right. Love you, brother.